I wanted to share a video with everyone that I found fascinating, that was made by one of my oldest Flat Earth friends, who was there with me when I started my Flat Earth investigation. Here is my friend's channel, who goes by the name better known as Wrongthink. I'll have a link in the description. I definitely recommend you subscribe to his channel. Now, I have been a subscriber of another channel called Vibes of Cosmos for a couple of years now, I think, and I always found his primary premise worth considering, but I have not agreed with it. I have watched a lot of his videos, but I cannot say I've seen everything of his, but I think he was the first one who made this claim. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that. I'll have a link to the Vibes of Cosmos channel in the description as well. In short, the claim is that the moon's topography is somehow representative of the Earth's topography. In other words, the moon is somehow a real map of our world. Although I found the argument by Vibes of Cosmos thought-provoking, I have not agreed with it. But I always try to maintain an open but critical and objective mind. Flat Earth has certainly taught me to not judge ideas too quickly. Truth can come from anywhere, and the smallest channels. That said, my friend's video that you're about to watch makes the moon map claim a bit more plausible in my mind. I had never thought about the underwater topography aspect. I share it with my Flat Earth family, not because I want you to believe it, but so that you can likewise ponder it, reasonably debate it, and share your own thoughts and conclusions. My very intelligent friend has spent thousands of hours studying this topic and is 100% convinced that this is the smoking gun proof for the Flat Earth, and will be sharing more videos on the topic. Anyways, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Welcome to Cybernetical Physics Volume 1, an exercise in visual pattern recognition. Empiricism, a method of inquiry by which a postulation can be verified or disproved by direct evidence, measurement, or experiment. Core axioms. All maps are scale models of reality. Latitude and longitude are points on an Earth map projection that help you find a specific location. The scale of a map is the ratio used to correct the distance on the map projection to the corresponding distance on the ground. We now have empirical evidence of the true Earth map. The following is a series of Earth map projections. As a general rule, the horizontal red lines are latitude and the vertical red lines are longitude. As these lines intersect, they create bounded areas. The bounded areas of each projection cover the same area of Earth as the corresponding bounded areas on the other projections. The shapes of the bounded areas influence the shape of the continents contained therein. Despite the subtle differences, these are the same land masses. Here are several different projections of Africa. Notice the shape of the continent and the angles on the coastline changes. This is because of the coordinate system. When the bounded area is largely composed of wide rectangles, Africa becomes squat and wide. When the bounded area is largely composed of tall, thin rectangles, Africa becomes tall and thin. When the bounded areas containing Western Africa are thinner than the ones containing Central and Eastern Africa, Western Africa becomes noticeably more stout. The same thing happens with the other continents. The eastern edge of South America can be either pointed or flat, depending on the coordinate system. On the left is a cylindrical coordinate system, where the top line is the North Pole and the bottom line is the South Pole. Cylindrical map projections are the ones most people are most familiar with. On the right is a polar coordinate system, where the center point is the North Pole and the outermost circle is the South Pole. we can convert between coordinate systems. The top line in the cylindrical coordinate system becomes the central point in the polar coordinate system. The bottom line in the cylindrical coordinate system becomes the outermost circle in the polar coordinate system. The conversion also works in reverse. These conversions are easy to do in any image manipulation program, such as Photoshop or GIMP. If the geographic center, which is represented by the red dot, of the coordinate system is misaligned from the magnetic center, which is represented by the collapse point of the concentric latitudes, a waveform will be introduced in the conversion. This is analogous to the disparity between the magnetic and geographic north poles on Earth. In this coordinate system, the geographic center is different from the magnetic center of the coordinate system. Notice the waveform and the latitudes of the converted cylindrical projection. Even in the more exotic coordinate systems, the bounded areas cover the same areas of Earth. Equivalence between coordinate systems is verifiable by manipulating the bounded areas into the same shape. In order to convert A into B, we will first convert the polar coordinate system A into cylindrical coordinate system A prime, and we will convert polar coordinate system B into cylindrical coordinate system B prime. B prime has squares for every bounded area. Therefore, the bounded areas of A prime must all be converted into squares. Upon converting the irregular bounded areas of A prime into the regular squares of A double prime, equivalence between A double prime and B prime has been verified. Notably, the Americas have increased in size. Africa has shrunk slightly. South America and Australia have moved to the right, and Europe has moved to the left, all in accordance with straightening the zigzagging longitudes. Converting A double prime back to polar verifies equivalence between the original polar projection B as well. Even the largest ground-based objects, such as mountains and skyscrapers, shrink and fade to obscurity at distances of several dozen miles. In fact, only 2 objects are visible from every location on the surface of the Earth: the Sun and the Moon. The Sun is a source, a locus, if you will, of blinding light, more or less devoid of discernible features. The Moon, on the other hand, not only possesses discernible features, those features are its defining characteristic. The other defining characteristic of the Moon is its phases: new to waxing to full to waning and back to new. An eternal cycle. This introductory episode will focus exclusively on the first quarter moon phase, better known as the waxing half moon. I must stress, this is not an arbitrary half moon, but the half moon is defined in observable reality by the shadow terminator line. Take note of the discernible features of the waxing half moon. An interesting thing happens if you mirror the moon and focus on the waxing half. Let's apply an unsharp mask filter to make the darks slightly darker and the lights slightly lighter. Finally, we'll apply a coordinate system. Let's revisit the off-center polar to cylindrical conversion to convert our polar moon image into a cylindrical one. Apply continental boundaries. Apply coordinate system. Color the land green and the water blue. Let's deconstruct this and examine it in more detail. Let's begin with an unmanipulated moon image. Let's ensure the accuracy of the continental outlines. Let's address the anomalies which are present in the moon image, but left out of the outline. Every one of these anomalies are present in relief maps of the Earth, which show the elevated lands underwater. Let's look at East Asia. China, Korea, Japan, Yellow Sea area. Separating the light from the dark reveals the shape of the land underneath. In Japan and Korea become instantly recognizable and at the appropriate latitude and longitude. South of Japan are several long arms of land clearly visible on the moon and on relief maps. South and east of this area, between Australia and the Americas, is the largest anomaly on the map. Relief maps show us this is Eastern Oceania, that is Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. Over 10,000 islands scattered across tens of millions of square miles of ocean. East of South America, off the southern coast of Brazil, is the Rio Grande Plateau, or the Rio Grande Rise, clearly visible on relief maps. 120 to 270 miles west of the coast of India's southwestern Malabar coast lie the Lakshadweep Islands, clearly visible on relief maps. 450 miles south of this, along the Chagos-Laccadive Ridge, are the Maldives. East of this is the 90 East Ridge, which, unsurprisingly, rides the 90 East longitude. Off the western coast of northern Namibia in Africa lies the Walvis Ridge. Between South Africa and Madagascar is the Mozambique Ridge. In conclusion, not only are all continents visible on the moon and consistent with stated latitude and longitude, all major ocean ridges on world relief maps are present and consistent as well. Only 2 objects are visible from every location on the surface of the Earth, and the only one with discernible features bears every location on the surface of the Earth as those discernible features. This is not a coincidence. The next episode will cover the magnetodielectric field as an electric circuit and deal with how and why a plasma projection of a geographic terrain through a magnetic field will bear distortions due to the presence of that magnetic field.